Hey everybody! Today we're going to be learning about human touch. I chose this for my scenario because I knew it would be fun to present in person because I had a few things planned, but of course those things got canceled, so sorry about that. I would also like to apologize in advance for my lack of ability with technology. I have never tried to do this before, so we'll see how it goes. Okay. Human touch. So here's some general knowledge to start off with. Your skin is immediate contact with the world. It is packed with sense receptors that allow you to touch, feel, and receive pain. So on the right, you can see how a bunch of packed receptors would look like under the skin. There are many different types of receptors, and each one reacts to different things. These receptors send messages to the brain. The brain filters out less important messages. For example, the clothes on your back. The brain will filter out this feeling because it isn't important. Some parts of your body are more sensitive than others, and that is because those parts have more touch receptors. Your fingers and toes are very sensitive parts of your body, meaning they have many touch receptors. This makes sense considering these are the parts of your body that you use to navigate your way through the world. So these are the different types of receptors and what they correspond with. Sorry. So if you were to feel hot and cold, the touch receptors called free nerve endings are tiny branches of tree-like nerves. They respond to types of change such as hot, cold, and pain and touch. So next is light pressure. Merkel endings detect light pressure. They are located near the surface of the skin and can detect slow vibrations. And I don't really know how to pronounce the next three, and I'm sorry about that, but I'm going to try my best. So next is faint touch, and these correspond with Messner touch receptors, which sit just below the skin and detect faint touch, such as feathers against your skin. If you were to feel stretching, you would find that deep down in the skin are touch receptors called Ruffini endings. They are sensitive to being squeezed and changed in temperature. And if you were to receive very deep pressure, the deepest and largest touch receptors are called the Pacinian endings. They respond to deep pressure and all kinds of vibrations. So how do the receptors actually work? The receptor is a structure that can get information from the environment. The information is then changed and understood by the nervous system. Receptors collect very accurate information when touched. When a human contacts a stimulus, it creates electrical signals in cells. This is called a transduction. When the receptors receive the electrical signal, they fire action potentials. Action potentials are signals sent to the brain and spinal cord by neurons. Scientists still don't know how signals are changed into information that a person can understand. So here is the skin diagram that shows you different types of pressure and the receptor that reacts with it. You can see the deeper the receptor, the deeper the pressure, the lower those specific nerve endings are. Forgot to put that word in there. So why would touch be so important? Touch plays a primary role in our development and well-being. It has been proven that touch-deprived children have much lower cortisol and growth development levels. Cortisol is a stress hormone that controls blood sugar levels, regulates metabolism, reduces inflammation, and assists with memory formulation. This is a crucial hormone to protect health and well-being. Babies navigate the world using touch and are comforted with human contact. The visually impaired rely on touching in situations that we might use sight. Also, the things humans rely on the most requires touch, technology. Technology requires touch more than ever frequently. Why did I just say that? I'm sorry, I meant recently. A fun fact is that massage actually increases natural killer cells, which are cells that will kill virus cells and bacteria cells. So Now we're going to be talking about how we actually recognize different textures. And this is where I would have did this little game where you stick your hand inside of a box and try to guess what you're feeling. But I couldn't do that, so sorry. First off, information goes from the sensors through the nerves into the somatosensory cortex. Of course. The somatosensory cortex is the part of the brain that interprets the sense of touch. So neurons will respond differently to different types of textures. Also, different nerves will respond to different things. Some respond to raised bumps, spatial elements, of course, textures. Others respond to vibrations and allow us to feel fine textures such as fabrics, which are the majority of the textures we encounter in the real world. So, say you were actually doing the game that I prepared for a scenario. Say I had a pencil inside the box. The reason you would be able to tell what a pencil was is because of the receptors under your skin that detect, like if you were to feel the point of the pencil, it would put deep pressure under your skin, so you would feel those receptors would send neurons up to your brain to tell you what it was. Because neurons will respond differently to different types of textures, different and unique messages are sent to the brain and interpreted in the somatosensory cortex, therefore allowing us to recognize textures. So maybe you were feeling a stuffed animal, that's like light pressure, and those specific receptors would send a unique message to your brain telling you that it was soft, and you would be able to recognize what that texture was. Now we're going to be learning about how pain works. There are 4 total steps that the body goes through to receive pain signals. Step 1 is detection. Fibers tipped with receptors respond to pain-inducing stimuli. When the stimulus is strong enough, the receptors generate an electrical current, aka the pain signal. So this step is basically just the pain projecting onto your skin and the receptors receiving that signal. And step 2 is transmission. The pain signal travels along the neurons through the channels that allows sodium ions back and forth across the cell membranes. These channels allow those charged particles across the membrane if the signal is strong enough. If not, there is no pain. So this is just the process in which the pain travels to the neurons to be determined whether or not it needs to be recognized by the brain. Step 3 would be perception. When a signal reaches the spinal cord, it continues to the brain in the somatosensory cortex and translates information about the intensity of the pain signal. Then the brain's motor cortex generates the body's response. Example, a shout of surprise or a jerk of a hand. And step 4 would be the aftermath. After an injury, an icus stimulus, like of taking a bath or a pat on the back, can generate a pain signal at the site of the original injury. Actually, that's not all, but I have something to show after this. I'm sorry for the lack of interaction. It's kind of hard to do these scenario things on a computer and not being able to interact with you guys, but as you can see, touch is way more in depth than just being able to feel. Without it, the world would be seen in such a different way. And thank you. Okay. I'd like to show you this little diagram of how pain works. So, wait, is it still recording? I hope so. Let me see. Yeah, it's still recording. Okay, this is such a wreck. I'm like scared it's gonna stop recording. Okay. So if you remember step 1, that would be located right at the skin, right here. And then that would travel up to the neurons. That would be step 2. And then step 3 is the perception, which happens in the brain. And then if you were to go all the way back to the site of the pain right here, it can send more pain signals if it were to be harmed again. Thank you guys. I know that was probably boring. It wouldn't have been if I could actually see you, but that's all for today. Let's see if I can figure out how to stop this thing.